As we think about that young Israeli boy, we also think about the early morning strike at the school compound in Gaza over the weekend. Hundreds of refugees were there, many women and children who had been at morning prayers or dead. Israel estimates 19 militants among the dead. The charity Save the Children say they believe at least 100 dead. Does Israel consider these civilians collateral damage?
Look, first things first, it's no longer a school when Hamas and Islamic Jihad take over a facility. Then it becomes a military site. Now, we'll always try and keep hostages, to keep all civilians out of harm's way. That's a key part of our strategy. But the way that Hamas and Islamic Jihad fight us, they make it inevitable that there are civilian casualties. No matter how hard we try, they make it inevitable. Look, the only the only front of this war which we are losing on, it's not the military front. We're beating Hamas, we're destroying them, we're shattering their battalions. It's the PR battle. We recognize that. And this is precisely what Hamas is after. This is their strategy. They can't beat us on the battlefield, but they think that they can beat us in PR terms. It is Hamas that is responsible for any civilian casualties in Gaza. They're not upset that there are civilian casualties. They wish there were 10 times more because it's a key part of their strategy. We know that, but we're going after the terrorists. We're not going to stop until this genocidal organization is taken away from the leadership of Gaza to give Gazans a better future and us a better future living in peace here.
You seem to be dismissing the deaths of 81 people as a PR coup for Hamas. These are mothers, children, these are families, many of whom have been displaced from other parts of Gaza, who wouldn't have anywhere else to go, who very probably had very little choice about where they were able to get shelter, whether or not Hamas were using the same building.
So, Jane, firstly, that's quite offensive to say that. My point to you is that we released the photographs of 19 terrorists with blood on their hands, their names, their crimes, the organization, and we targeted them and we defeated them. We used extremely precise intelligence. Our footage, and we've released this footage, shows very clearly there were no civilians in the area at the time of the blast. Look, we have to wake up.
That's not what Save the Children say, though,
right?
And they are also there on the ground.
We need to have our eyes open on this. This is a PR battle which we're facing as well. You know, Hamas wants these images to be shown in the Western media. Our info is that we got these 19 terrorists. We're pleased about that because you know, the world's a better place without them. We can move on in our battle to try and restore peace. But
what about the other 81 is my point.
There aren't any 81. That's the truth of the matter. There aren't any other.
That is not what charities are saying there.
Right. So, unfortunately, lots of people like UNRWA, which is also a charity, they actually participated.
But this is Save the Children. This isn't UNRWA.
So I don't know about Save the Children. But what I know is this is a PR battle. I've given you our intelligence. We know that 19 were killed. We're looking into if there were any other collateral damage, which of course we'll apologize for if that is the case. But what I'm telling you is we can say categorically when we fired these precise munitions, calibrated perfectly to get precisely to the terrorists, to make sure there aren't any civilian casualties. There weren't any other civilians in the area. So any other you know, ideas which might come afterwards, it's incumbent on world media to be critical, to look at these issues with a critical eye, because Hamas have a history of lying. I mean, you know, none of us here in Israel are surprised. They raped our families. They burnt whole families alive. You know, it's no big surprise that they happen to be liars as well. But I understand for Western media.
That I'm certainly quoting here. It's the charity Save the Children.
So almost, Jane, this is an important point because almost nothing, no information leaves Gaza without it being cleared by
It would help if international journalists were allowed in there by Israel, then we would be able to give independent verification, but you don't allow us in, so we can't. Can I just put one final point to you? Whatever happened on Saturday.
That's what you call a drive-by. Allow me to respond to that when you make that accusation. This has been one of the most reported conflicts ever.
But not freely by the international media. The international media, Sky News, are only allowed in accompanied by Israel on very, very limited trips.
It is a very dangerous war zone. For the safety of these journalists, but we're keeping them out. But we will let them in.
That's a decision that you've just acknowledged. You are keeping them out.
No, the decision I'm taking, I'm telling you about, is that we're focusing on bringing our hostages home. That's what our emphasis is, you know, because the story's getting out. I mean, you see them on your screens every single moment of every single day. So the story is getting out. So this idea that it isn't getting out is ridiculous. It's on our front screens all the time.
But it's hard because if I say a fact and then you say it's Hamas, we can't independently verify it because you won't let us in. So it becomes a circular argument, doesn't it? Whatever happened on Saturday, we've seen the images, we've spoken to Save the Children. Do you think what happened on Saturday helps the chances of your hostages getting out safely that so many in Israel want to desperately see?
So from the top of the government down, all of us want to see our hostages home. It's an open sore in Israeli society. It's a terrible thing which has happened to our people. 311 days now in Hamas's grips. But let me let you in on our military strategy. We know what works with Hamas. Up until now, Hamas have walked away from every time, except for the occasion in November. They've walked away every time when we're getting close to a hostage release deal. You know what works with Hamas? It is comprehensive military pressure against them. That's how we hold their feet to the fire, and that's how we get our hostages back.